right. Thank you so much for tuning back into MMA Today. I'm Jenna here with Shawn Chase. And we have an action-packed show. There's so much fight stuff that happened this weekend.
Big fight weekend.
We have 3 incredible guests. We have David Feldman from BKFC. We have Thiago Alves. We have Micky Ward. It's going to be an exciting one. So let's dive in. Let's talk about UFC 278.
How can we not kick off the show with the most? So I mean, it was a big fight weekend, but I think the biggest surprise by far was the main event of that UFC 278 card. That was insane.
Yeah, I think it was minute 404 in the last round where Edwards knocked out Usman. We're used to Usman being, I think he was champ 6 times.
Yeah, he was on the verge of tying Anderson Silva's record. And I mean, it just shows what an unforgiving, unpredictable sport it is. I mean, even Kamaru himself came out and tweeted afterwards, and he's like, "This is why I love this sport."
So Edwards got performance of the night, craziest ending in UFC history, and I'm curious to know, how do you think Usman's dealing with this loss of being a 6-time champ, pound for pound status? Does this mean that Edwards is now number 1 pound for pound? Is that
no, it doesn't work that way.
Just in the division.
Yeah, you don't knock off the pound for pound and become the pound for pound.
Okay.
It's not that way. But I don't think Kamaru is too rattled by it. I mean, he's a champ. He's so headstrong, he's very dialed in, like I've said multiple times about him. And I just look at it as he made a mistake. He got caught. If they run it back, do I think it'll go the same way? Probably, without the head kick. I mean, I think that Kamaru will dominate him again the same way he did. But Leon did say one thing that could always play a factor, where he said, when you believe in yourself as much as Kamaru believed in himself going into that fight, and you get knocked out clean that way, it kind of starts to maybe cast a little bit of, self-inflicted doubt. So I don't know. We'll see. But they're talking about Wembley Stadium. I think that'll be huge. But we'll see.
And then on Usman's Instagram, he showed great sportsmanship. He was giving props to Edwards.
He's a champ.
But
win or lose, he's a champ.
Did you catch the little "see you soon"?
Well, of course, they're rematching it. I mean, you don't have the credentials and the accolades that Kamaru does, and then not get a rematch. No matter how decisive the knockout was, he still deserves a rematch. Considering, I was doing the math, he was up 3-1 on the rounds, winning the 5th round before. So it would have probably been a 49-46 if not for that. 55 more seconds went by. So, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
We shall see. All right, Costa v. Rockhold.
I want to know what your thoughts were on it.
All right, it was gross.
Because the man in me loved it. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, this is a straight up just fight. It wasn't a mixed martial arts match. It was a fight. Those two fought.
Right. Okay. So the technicals, unanimous decision, 30-27, fight of the night. Rockhold retired, which we'll talk about. But Rockhold gassed early. It's like he really tried. He went into the first 2 rounds lunging forward. He did his best. I just kind of felt like Costa was unfazed. I felt like he's so durable that, no matter what Rockhold threw at him, he had it under control.
I wouldn't say he had it under control. He ate some massive shots that could have knocked anybody else out.
But they didn't.
They didn't. Well, I mean, that's, they don't until one day they do. I mean, you look at all these guys that are, they've never been knocked out until they get knocked out. So Paulo fought some of the guys in the post-fight, I remember afterwards, were kind of critical of his performance. I thought he fought very smart. Luke Rockhold, even though he didn't have the gas tank, because, I mean, the guy hasn't been in there for 3 years, I still thought he left it all on the line.
Yep.
But given that, he's still dangerous. He can still knock you out in the last second of the fight, and he almost knocked Paulo out in the last minute of the fight.
Right.
And Paulo knew that going into the whole fight, where he's like, I don't want to get caught, so I'm just going to fight smart. And Paulo fought very smart. Paulo was very professional throughout the week. He didn't engage when Luke was nasty to him in the pre-fight stuff. Paulo didn't really engage. He didn't get nasty back with him. He had a masterful weight cut, which we discussed last week, whether he would or not. We were curious about it. He did. So Patty's regimen. I need to know.
Patty,
this is
call me. I gotta
crazy.
know. Like, hook us up.
Nutritionist, Patty the nutritionist is going to become a thing because he is. That was. I mean, they were doing the comparables, how Paulo looked on the scales versus in his last fight against Vittori, and how he looks, and it's incredible. The guy looked great.
Yeah.
You know, Rockhold, look, he didn't like the way he went out a few years ago. He's had a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of personal stuff, and he wanted to come out and fight and go out on his own terms. And he did. I think 5 minutes in, he realized, holy shit, you know, my body can't take it anymore. I'm gassed. But instead of, I mean, we've seen guys in that position, you know, kind of fold over and take a knee and kind of take the easy way out. And he didn't.
He didn't.
He's you know, like wincing in misery, and he's still throwing haymakers, and he just put it all out there. He's, you know, spitting up blood, and he's rubbing it in Paulo's face.
Oh my God.
The difference for me in that fight was Paulo was fighting a mixed martial arts match, which he's been in there, you know, a lot lately, and he's been, you know, every year he's been in there fighting the best of the best, and Luke was sort of fighting for his life.
Right.
So that bloody thing you saw at the end was Luke just letting it all out. You know, he was
there were no Fs
fighting
given.
for his life.
Yeah.
So
no, that was incredible. I was like, the crowd went wild when that happened.
Look,
too.
Luke was the best part of fight week. This whole week, Luke came in. He was, you know, from all his press conference stuff to all the back and forth with Paulo to the, you know, voicing his disapproval of some of the things going on in the organization down to the end of the fight. I mean, Luke put on a show, and you can do nothing but tip your cap to them, you know.
I want to give him props for some great kicks, right? Some question mark 360 roundhouse kicks.
The best was the fuck you haymaker that he threw that landed flush and you know, rocked Paulo a little bit, but
Right.
that was nuts.
Right. So what do you think is next for Rockhold?
I mean, look, Rockhold didn't need to fight. Rockhold is very well off. Rockhold's got a million other things going on. He, from modeling to acting to this, the guy he's fine. Like I said, this was something he wanted to do. It was, you know, he wanted to go out on his own terms. He's a fighter. He's an alpha male. He wanted to, you know, go out against a dangerous guy, and they went the distance, and they went back and forth, and it was fight of the night. So what better way to go out?
Aldo v. Dvalishvili. You know, they swapped spots. So now Dvalishvili's in the top 3. What do you think that's going to do for his career?
I like Merab.
I love Merab. You know,
Merab
I
got
think
the job done.
Yeah, he got it done.
He why would he stand in the middle and exchange with Aldo? You know, he's got so much to lose. So he got the job done, and he, you know, at the end of the day, I know the crowd was booing, but it's Aldo's job to get out of that position, and he didn't. So, you know, hats off to Merab. It's going to be really interesting, though, because now he's number 3. Aljo's the champ.
Right.
They couldn't have been more clear that
Right.
they're not going to fight each other.
They're very close. Yeah.
Interesting. How's that? Is there a number out there that'll make them fight each other, or is it absolutely not? So
We'll have to have them on and find out.
so yeah.
I know that Uriah Hall and Kelvin Gastelum had a deal. You know, there was like a number. It had to be like
But they
crazy.
fought each other at the Ultimate Fighter finale.
But never again.
Yeah, but
They've
they
had-
still fought each other once. These two, like Merab basically came out and said, I am ranked number 3 now because of Aljo. So don't even bring that shit up to me again. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. All right. Former Olympic and judo world champ Kayla Harrison advances to PFL final after defeating Martina Jindrova on Saturday. She has a perfect record, 15-0. I mean,
she got
damn.
through Jindrova pretty easily too. I was watching, like I said, my whole Saturday I was watching fights from morning till night. Kayla's a beast. You know, I'm disappointed that we don't get to see her fight in the UFC and fight the likes of like the Nuneses and stuff, because she's a special talent. She's one of those, you know, generational talents. So like, I don't see anyone. I mean, even the fight right before her fight which is the person she's going to fight in the final, Pacheco. Like, she's an animal. Like, she's won 4 or 5 knockouts in a row. But Kayla's already beat her twice. And it's just so hard to get psyched up about it a third time around. You know, Kayla's just really, really, really well-rounded. To the point where, honestly, if she was in the UFC, I think she probably would be champ. First of all, here's my thoughts on that whole thing. She fights at 155. Amanda fights out 135 and 145. So naturally, Kayla is going to be bigger than her going into it. And Kayla's not the type to stand there and get in a firefight with her either. She's going to take her down, and she is smothering on the ground. Like, I've watched a few of her fights, and I'm like, I don't know if there's anyone, in the UFC that can match her, her physicality and just how dominant she is on the ground. It's a little Khabib-esque. It's almost like where you're like, it's suffocating. You can't really even do anything about it. So,
do you know if there have been any discussions between her and the UFC?
There was. She was a free agent, and then she attended Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes the first time around, and then Juliana Pena won, which basically, kind of killed the hype a little bit, or at least derailed it momentarily for her to sign over and fight Amanda Nunes, and then she re-signed with PFL. So she's never going to fight in the UFC, or at least not for a few years. So.
Interesting. Okay, we got to talk about Burgos leaving UFC for PFL.
Yeah, Dana was upset about that.
Oh my God, Dana's reaction. That was a mistake.
Someone's getting fired.
He said, I'm happy for him though. He said, we don't fuck up often, but we fucked this one up.
Someone's getting fired over that. Yeah, for sure. Look, PFL, I watched PFL on Saturday. They have a very well-rounded organization.
Yeah.
It's organized. It's their live scoring, live betting odds, the live strikes. I love that. And me being a stat guy, here's the pros and cons about it. Me being a stat guy, I loved seeing it on the screen. Then the con is I wasn't watching the fight. I was watching the stats more so than anything else. So, but they run in a tight ship. It's great. They pay their fighters handsomely. And look, someone at the UFC fucked up, obviously, because Burgos walked and he was an exciting fighter. So that happens.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
There you are. Welcome, David Feldman, founder and president of BKFC. We're so excited to have you here. Huge weekend for you. How are you doing?
Going great. Just a little bit tired, but it was an unbelievable event for us. Really turned the corner for us, especially in the European UK market. It was a phenomenal event for us.
Yeah. Now, all right, you got to break down the main event.
Mike Perry versus MVP. Everybody was coin tossing right before the fight. They thought that MVP was a better striker, but I coined it myself as like skill versus will.
Right.
So a very puncher versus a guy who's just going to eat the punches and come forward, and that's kind of what happened. MVP was just tagging him with anything that he threw, man. And then Mike Perry came back and landed a nice right hand and dropped him at the end of the first round. Questionable whether Mike Perry got dropped or not in the second round, which would have actually changed, the whole.
Right.
And then, he just kept coming forward. He ate some punches, but kept coming forward. And the fifth round, I thought that he performed very well. Event or championship fights, that if the fight's a draw, we go one extra round, and we went one extra round. And
that felt like a movie. I mean, I've watched a lot of bare knuckle fights, and that day I was texting my friends and I'm like, I'm watching a movie right now. I'm like, these two just went they just went full on 5 rounds. They're both bloodied. Mike Perry's face is swollen. And I'm sitting here like, I wonder who won this. And then all of a sudden they get on the mic and they're like, we're going into overtime. I mean, it was like a movie to me. And it was insane. And then they go into that final round. That was the most exhilarating bare knuckle fight I'd ever seen. It was, just the build up, all of it. I mean, just the fact that MVP would put it all on the line and come and do. I mean, MVP's, he's lengthy, his kicks and his knees and elbows and he's like, all right, I won't use any of that. And it was just so fun. It was just so much fun to watch.
I mean, if we couldn't have really scripted the night any better.
Right.
It started as we're going to a new market, a new matchmaker, new fighters. Some of the guys really came and just fought unbelievable, and some guys, tasted a bare knuckle for the first time and took a knee.
Right.
So that happened.
Right.
Last 4 or 5 fights were just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And to have that go 5 rounds, it was like, I said it before the fight. I said, I pray to God that this is a draw round. These things are crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I mean, it was later in the day. I'm watching the UFC fights, and I'm still thinking about the bare knuckle fights from earlier. That's the impression it left on me afterwards. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Which brings me to my next question. Paige is a good friend. You know, we're fortunate to be working with her on some stuff. We've heard a lot of things. I was like, let's ask the boss of all bosses on, you know, what happened there and why that fight was rescheduled. Just to, you know, some people are, you know, lying and saying it was canceled. It wasn't canceled. It was just rescheduled. It's October. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that rebooking and everything.
Oh, a lot of people said we were doing bad in ticket sales and we were doing this and we were doing that. And obviously, if you were there, you saw the crowd. It
Sold
was
out.
tremendous.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just, you know, there were some Paige VanZant and her opponent do some things outside of MMA, and I was getting a little bit of slack from regulators in England. I don't want to go into it and throw these girls under the bus. They're great. I love
Right,
Paige.
right.
I love that they're awesome to work with, and we just picked it up and moved it to a different date. That's all.
Got it.
And on November 12th. We originally thought October, but Page's schedule conflicts with that, so it looks like it's going to land on November 12th at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. But
Ooh, nice.
wasn't, you know, we compensated both of the girls. We did everything we're supposed to do. We
Right.
didn't just say, you know, screw it, it's off. We
Of
did
course.
everything. We moved it, and you know, everybody's happy now.
Nice. So November 12th at the Hard Rock at Hollywood, Florida, and it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that.
I think we gotta go.
Yeah, we have to go to that for sure.
We gotta go.
Yeah, we have to.
Where are you guys based out of?
We're in LA.
Awesome. Well, we're just opening an office at the Triller headquarters in LA as we speak now.
I was going to ask you about that exactly. So tell us about the whole Triller partnership that came to fruition, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, we announced it a while ago, but it wasn't actually done. We prematurely announced it. It actually got closed on Friday before this fight. Out there. You know, I just think what they have to offer us aside from funding is a lot of celebrities, a lot of influencers, a lot of people to talk about this event, because that's how it's really going to spread, is everybody talking about it. You can do as much marketing as you want. We can do everything else that we want, but if no one's telling you to watch it, or you don't see something really cool, you're not going to watch it just by watching an ad, because you don't know what it is.
Right.
So if I have him in with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of millions of followers, it's going to be an amazing partnership. And they have a lot of tech things, a lot of tech companies that they have under the umbrella that's going to help push this as well. And Ryan Cavanaugh, who's you know, one of the owners of Triller, he's just a really, really smart dude. He gets a bunch of things, and we've been talking about a lot of strategies already. So I think it's going to be a great relationship with us.
I love it.
Amazing. I got to get a little nosy, you know, the Triller acquisition, you know, it's for an undisclosed figure. Can you give us a ballpark? How rich did you get off of this?
You know, it's some stock and performance based too. We definitely got some cash. I was able to. So what a lot of people don't know is, like, I was offered another deal prior to that, and I personally, Dave Feldman, would have got 10 times the amount of money, but my team wasn't getting really anything. So this, I got 10 times less money, but my team got a lot of money as well. Now, as this thing rolls on and we perform, it's going to be very lucrative for me. But I made sure that my team was good, because I have, like, this little core team here, and then we have a lot of other guys on the team as well. But the little core team that was there since, you know, some of them were there for 8 years when I was doing the illegal underground fights, and up to the first fight, and the first 3 years working for free. So they deserve to get paid, and we made sure they get paid. But I can't really disclose what it is. But if we perform, everybody becomes very, very wealthy.
I love that. I love the man that you are, David. Stay true to that. Speaking of acquisitions, now BKFC acquires England's BFBA. Was this, if I read correctly, was London like the first collaboration between you guys?
They did a couple shows before that. We bought the rights off them to air on Bare Knuckle TV, so we knew them from that. But this was the first event that, you know, we kind of got to know them a little more, and we're going to do our first event. I think it's November 26th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which for us over here wouldn't be as good, but for them, you know, I tell them, I said, we left you on this date, so you guys can have the date. It was funny, but it's going to be a great partnership. What this event did for us it was unbelievable. People were going, this is the next boxing over there, which boxing is unbelievable. Look, we went up against Train Strikes. We went up against Anthony Joshua fight, Coldplay concert next door. Moved everything that could have went wrong for this event leading up to it went wrong. And then everything that could have went right for the event during the event went right. So it worked out for us.
Amazing. So what's next?
We have this Saturday night, we have our first event in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. We have Christine Faria versus Taylor Starling. We have former UFC fighter John Dotson on the card. We'll have
Nice.
we'll have Diego Sanchez and I think Donald Cerrone on attendance. So it'll be a who's who in attendance. It's a great debut for us there. And then we go September 3rd to Bangkok, Thailand.
Wow.
Bukal, who is one of the top 2 MMA Muay Thai fighters ever in history of Muay Thai. So he'll be making his bare knuckle debut. And the following week we go to Montana, and then we have a few weeks off before we make our debut into Louisiana. Just a busy schedule for us, but we're getting there. Where people are talking about us a lot more than they ever did now.
Definitely.
So, it's working.
And what's next? Like, what's the next, like in a year from now? What's the next big move? Because you guys are moving pillars every year. I mean, you guys are doing big milestone things. What's the next one? What can we look forward to for the next big revelation for bare knuckle to come out with?
I think it's going to be a network TV deal. We have
Love it.
actually very interested in it. One of them just told us no, only because their board, wasn't sure of it yet and didn't know about bare knuckle.
Right.
Meaning, is it bad for the audience? And then the other 2 are just major networks. So we're going to have a major network deal, I would say mid 2023, and then that just takes us in my mind, that takes us to the moon. Not even just the viewership that we're going to get from it.
Right.
And then it's over. Then it's over.
Amazing. I'm like excited for you. I feel like I'm on this journey with you. Now, I got to know though, given that you guys only take fighters that have experience, now what is the top question or concern that these fighters have when they're transitioning over to bare knuckle?
No, they just want to make sure that we have the coverage that we need, the medical insurance coverage, but moreover than that, to make sure that we have the right physicians in place. And we have what I think, and a lot of people in combat sports thinks is the top combat sports physician in the world. He was the president of the Association of Ringside Physicians for years, Dr. Don Musi. He's just unbelievable. So he compiled this data from our first fight all the way up until the last fight. And it just keeps coming out fight after fight. It's kind of consistent where we have less concussive and subconcussive damage. We have less facial fractures. We even have, what everybody can't believe, we have less broken hands.
Wow.
We have more lacerations. And we have plastic surgeons on staff to stitch the fighters up. So they stitch them up, go home, and everything's good. And, a little bit of blood. And people love blood, as long as people aren't getting seriously injured. So right now, we can confidently say we have less injuries than boxing or mixed martial arts.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Well, David, I mean, we got to come out. We want to hang with you. I personally, I think you're so cool. I'm like, I just want to keep picking your brain and have you back on the show in person and get to know you and learn more about, what it is you're doing for your team and kind of the community. Cause I get the sense that you're just this guy that doesn't just take, like you're really interested in giving back and leaving everything better.
It's funny because, I did get a little cash infusion and I was like, because for the longest time, I'm like, I just can't wait to make some money. I can't wait to make some money. And I made some money and I'm like, it's exactly what I thought. It was never about the money.
Right.
It's about about leaving a legacy. It's about, changing things. I actually had this quote I posted on my Facebook today, but it's a long one. But basically it said, the crazy ones, the ones that nobody thinks can do it, they're the ones that end up changing the world. And that's what we're just trying to leave a mark, right? We're trying to leave a mark. Another thing that we did also, we just launched it. We announced it probably 6 to 9 months ago, but we just launched it actually last week. We launched the first combat sports retirement/pension fund for fighters.
Oh,
so that's
amazing.
Above and first. It's the first time it's ever been done in history. And, we have, we're going to donate cash to them. We're also going to have some different crypto companies are going to be our sponsors and put crypto in their wallets. So they have something to lean back on in 5 years. They can't cash it out for 5 years, and like it's not life changing, but what it is I've been in this all my life. Like literally since I've been in diapers, I've been in combat sports, and I've seen guys make millions of dollars and call me up today and ask me to borrow money off me. Like I've seen that because they weren't managed properly and they didn't have money away, when their career was over. Like I said, it's not life changing, but if they have 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 that they can reach out to in 5 years from now when they really need it, they're going to have that.
Amazing. I love it. I know CSAC's working on something like that. I have to talk to Andy about it because I know, boxing has that, right? And so CSAC has been working on something for MMA. Not at all what you're doing. That's separate?
Yeah, no, completely different. This is when I said it's the first ever from a promotion. It's the first promotion.
Okay.
Got it.
Executed one ever. I know the IDF did something before for only their champions. I know some other state commissions are trying things, and this is great because look, without the fighters, I don't have anything. I have zero. But at the same time, we're giving them a great platform. I'm only saying that because they always come to me and I tell them, I say, come on over to Bare Knuckle because I'm going to blow up your profile. Even if you're like Paige VanZant went, she was popular. She came and fought for Bare Knuckle, and everybody was like, holy crap, Paige VanZant's fighting for Bare Knuckle, and everybody started following her again.
Right.
So it's a win-win. But I mean, without these fighters going out there, and I bonus them all the time. Like this last fight I just did, I think we had 12 fights. I gave 14 fighter bonuses. We just, because I tell them, I said, it's about you. Go out there and fight your butt off and do everything you can do for these fans, and I'm going to take care of you, and I take care of them all the time.
Yeah, and this is no surprise to me hearing this because I've spoken to a handful of guys, in your organization, and they all, I mean, the way they speak about you, it's like he's the greatest person to work for. It's an honor to be in this organization, to have a man like David running the show. So, it's when I hear you say it, I'm like, it's no surprise because I've seen firsthand your fighters, say how amazing you are. So.
That's awesome to hear. You know what I think the big difference is I say it all the time about like even regulators, like some of the state commissions that just talk like crap to the fighters and to the promoters. I said, these are guys that never been punched in their face in their life. So don't know. I've been there. I've done it. I've grinded my whole life, man. I sparred with the best fighters in the world. I had 14 professional boxing matches. I've been here for a long time. And to experience what they go through, to have experienced it, I get it. So I understand when they're frustrated. I also know when they're spoiled and asking for too much. I know when to pump the brakes on that as well. But, I just want the guys to be happy because why? Because if they're happy, they're telling everybody, come fight for us.
Right. Everybody
watches. And if they're disgruntled, they're going to say, go to a different organization.
Right.
So it's common sense. It's not even, there's nothing special about it. It's just, it's what I got this one mentor, and he said to me, how many times in life have you done the wrong thing and it turned out right for you? And I said, never. So do the right thing and it's going to turn out right for you.
I love that.
I love it.
Famous last words from David
I
Feldman, founder and president of BKFC. Thank you so much for joining us here on MMA Today. We got to hang with you in person. Let us know when you're in LA, or maybe we'll come to one of your fights and hang.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, David.
David.
Talk soon, my man. Appreciate you.
See ya.
What's up, guys?
What's going on? Thiago Alves in the house. We are so glad to have you here on MMA Today. I'm Jenna. I'm so glad to get acquainted with you. And Shawn Chase, right?
Yes, I do. How you doing?
How you doing, Thiago? How you been, brother?
I'm good, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So good to see you again.
Good to see you too, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
All right, so we want to go over BKFC. We want to go over UFC 78. I mean, you've got experience with all of it. So we're going to dive right into UFC 278 and get your thoughts on Usman v. Edwards 2. Did you watch the fight?
Yes, I did. Great fight, kind of like a surprise especially towards the end with 8 seconds left.
Right.
First round when Edward was fresh, he looked great. I mean, he was one of the first guys to actually win a round against Usman. Strike was on point. Takedown defense was on point. He was actually able to get a mount, which I thought kind of hurt Usman's knee for a second. But then when I saw the replay, he had enough, gap when he fell on his back. But then, as a champion in the second round, Usman just came in and did what he was supposed to do, like make it dirty, make it grimy. And you can see Edward, kind of fading a little bit and taking that beating, But that's why MMA is so amazing, At the last minute, the last round, he throw that straight left. So Usman can move his head towards the outside, follow up with the head kick. That's a beautiful but a basic setup against a southpaw versus an orthodox guy. And it was beautiful executed.
Right. It was. Definitely was. I remember you fought for the title in that same exact weight class. Was it interesting for you, because it was a big fight weekend. You were a champion in bare knuckle. There was, probably one of the biggest bare knuckle fights, in history took place on Saturday. It felt like a movie watching those two guys go at it. You competed for the belt in the welterweight division of the UFC. That had a huge fight. So, I feel like you're the right guy to talk to this weekend about the recap of the fights. How was it like watching such a busy fight weekend and watching all this stuff go down?
Honestly, it's pretty normal to me because, I grew up in a business. I'm involved in a business, as a fighter and as a coach as well. I'm taking a little step back as a fighter and really like fully integrating myself as a coach right now. But for us, the American top team, that's pretty busy and actually very, very normal because we had PFL as well, where we have people competing. And then you have, the BKFC and UFC as well. So it's awesome to see how combat sport has evolved. And it's awesome to see as well how many more opportunity that is out there for fighters. UFC is not the only game in town. So that's very good for the industry.
Right. And you talked about some of the coaching. Tell us about Live Trained. I know, it's getting really big. I starting to see it everywhere. I see you and Micky Ward, who's going to come on the show in a little bit. You guys are, heavily influenced behind this. So please tell us more about this. I know the listeners want to hear more.
So I am the MMA director. You think of Live Training as a cameo, but for combat sports, where you have the opportunity to interact and train also with your favorite fighter and favorite coach. What we develop at Live Training is every fighter, every coach under the platform has the ability to create their own online gym in a way where you can coach guys one-on-one, you can have group classes, but you can also develop a huge library of pre-recorded technique content where you can just, have your students or your fan base buy that so they can learn a little bit more about your fighting style and everything, and then come together as a training one-on-one with your favorite coach as well. So we're in the beginning stage. We're trying to pretty much, bring everything in as you can learn. Think of us as a learning platform. But right now, our main focus is develop the combat sports side. And then from there, we're going to move on to bigger and better things.
So, Thiago, you're a striking coach. If I wanted to send you a video through Live Trained of my form, would you be able to help me tighten it up?
Absolutely. I mean, we can work, with any levels of students, from beginner all the way to high level fighters. So different ways you can interact with every coach is you can do just one-on-one. You can get to know, your coach a little better. So you can just have one-on-one conversation. We can do videos breakdown where me and you get together and can break down fight videos so you can get a different perspective on what you're seeing. And we can also work on techniques, right? And we can also do a full-on workout where, we'll get you to learn, but at the same time, get a workout so you can feel good and be in shape as well.
I love it. All right, we're hopping around a little bit, but I got to get your thoughts on Costa v. Rockhold. That was a crazy fight. The memory that stands out the most, I don't think I'll ever get it out of my mind, is his Rockhold rubbing his bloody face all over Costa. And Costa's like squirming, trying to get out. I mean, that's one way to distract your opponent, right?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, in the heat of the battle, everything goes, right? You're sweaty, your adrenaline is through the roof, you're fully integrated in the moment. So the moment, it's the moment for violence, for being an animal, for being a savage. Right. And I don't think it gets more savage than rub your blood all over your opponent, at the last round. So that was pretty cool. But just goes to show how far, we take our body, how far we're integrated at that moment. It's literally you just being a primal animal trained for fighting, compete. So at that point, anything goes. And I think it was a beautiful display of heart and technique at the same time. Prop to those two guys. They definitely left a piece of themselves at that night in the octagon.
Well said. Definitely.
What did you think of Rockhold retiring?
Uh, I think it was the right decision. If you don't have it anymore when it comes to, I think body wise, he still look great. He's only 37. You see time and time again that fighters age differently today. You see guys competing at the highest level in their 40s right
Mm-hmm.
now. You think of that 10 years ago, you think that's crazy. It's unheard of. And there was very few guys who were able to do that. Today, you see more guys able to compete in that late 30s, early 40s. But if you don't have it in your heart, because this takes too much out of you, and you got to be fully integrated on mind and body. Otherwise, that's not the business you want to be competing if you're not completely 100% dedicated to it. So I think it was the right decision. He's still got all, he's still young to move on to the next stage of his life, whatever it is. And I wish him good luck. I think he was a great champion and a phenomenal fighter. I'm happy to see him go out, with a big performance like that, even though he didn't get the win. But I think nobody lost in that fight.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it was definitely a performance. All right, Aldo v. Dvalishvili.
Yeah.
Marab jumped up 3
phenomenal
spots.
fight.
I think he's ranked number 3 now.
Yeah, he took all
Yeah.
those number three rankings.
Yeah,
That's what
and
he did.
Aldo's at 6.
Yeah, they
And
swapped.
it goes to show, like, it depends what you're looking at, right? Of course, it's been proven, time and time again, that it's hard for you to win a fight going backwards. Like, you see the judge today, they value a lot of cage control.
Right.
So even though he was still doing damage going backwards, just the fact that the guy's pushing the pace, it's making him fight. He's not dictating the pace by fighting when he wants to fight. He's
Right.
not sticking a move, and then once he get an angle, he's able to make his opponent going backwards. He's going backwards the whole time. So it goes to show that the judge, they are valuing a lot cage control. It was a good fight. I think the first round, Aldo looked phenomenal on the wrestling defense and, with his strikings. But again, he was a little bit behind. He was always
Right.
react. He was counterattack instead of pushing the pace.
Yeah.
And I think that was the determining factor at the end of the fight.
And speaking of which, speaking about pushing the pace and the way the judges look at it, that sort of was the showing with MVP and Mike Perry as well, where they were both landing big shots in the bare knuckle fight on Saturday, but Perry was just kept coming forward. He was eating all of MVP's big shots, kept coming forward, kept landing shots, and I thought that was sort of the difference maker in that fight as well, where MVP was backpedaling most of the time. He was still landing, he was still landing, had a lot of success, but it's the fact that Mike Perry was just kept coming forward, eating all the shots. I mean, he was wearing it. He was wearing it on his, on his cheek afterwards. I think they said he had a broken jaw, but
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was eating those shots, just stalking him, walking him down, and to me, I thought that was maybe what the judges looked for that.
It's the only explanation you can give for Mike Perry to win the fight,
Right.
because like you said, even though MVP was coming backwards, you still doing a lot of damage.
A lot of
You're still
damage.
doing a lot of damage. I think he got a knockdown in the second round, but nobody counted. Mike Perry touched the canvas with both hands.
Yeah.
That's considered a knockdown.
Is it? Okay. Okay. I was
yeah,
wondering about
unless-
that.
Yeah, some rules, you gotta have both hands in the knee, so that's like 3 points. That's considered a knockdown. But regular boxing, when you touch the canvas with your hands, it's a knockdown. But
It's a
BKFC
knockdown.
is a different animal.
Got it.
They have different rules. In boxing, also in kickboxing, we have a 3 knockdown rule in one round. If you get 3 knockdowns in one round, usually they stop the fight.
Right.
In BKFC, they don't care how many knockdowns. As long as you get up, you can keep coming forward. They'll keep you fighting.
Right.
But I think that was definitely the determining factor. Mike Perry was coming in, even though he was taking a lot of damage coming in, and didn't do much damage coming in either. He was just taking, try to fire back.
Right.
But
Exactly.
at that point, MVP was out and able to counter it again. So in my opinion, that fight, could have gone either way. MVP was a little bit more technical when it comes to the
Right,
damage. I think
right.
he did more damage. But again, the forward pressure in combat sports today, it's being determining factor and guys winning a close fight.
Right. And then I thought, I mean, just the atmosphere when, seeing these two guys bloodied up in their corners, and then they get on the mic and say, "Oh, we're going to a 6th overtime round." I mean, that was fun. I mean, it was early for West Coast time, and I'm sitting there like, "Oh my God, this is entertaining. I am invested in this." But it was fun.
Yeah, no, if you've never been to a BKFC show, you're in for a treat. Because every fight is very competitive. It's 2 hands against 2 hands.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be competitive. You
Right.
don't have a lot of room to run. It's a square circle.
Right.
So if you have never been to a BKFC show, go, because it's a fun fight of nights. start to finish, the fights are always competitive. So
Right.
you're always going to see something crazy. You're definitely going to see blood because, bare hands against
Yeah.
bare hands and face, it's going to get cut very
Right.
easily. But the fights are a lot shorter, right?
Yep.
There are 5 rounds of 2 minute,
2
1 minute
minutes,
rest.
right.
So, they keep moving very fast. So it's a fast pace, but exciting fight at nights where you can get in, have fun, watch some guys, try to kill each other and then go home. It's still pretty early and do what you got to do after.
Thiago, I want to get a little personal with you because you're such an OG in the biz. Thinking back to your 14 years in the UFC, I got to know, what fight are you most proud of?
I am most proud of my fight against Seth Bazansky because at that fight, I was out for over 2 years and I had 4 surgeries back to back.
Wow.
I tore my right and left pec, and then I had to do my left knee ACL, PCL, and my left biceps all back to back. Me trying to rush it in to get back to training, to get back to fighting, end up injuring myself again and injuring myself again, and injuring myself again. So I had a lot of tension right in that fight because you step away for a year and you have a completely different weight class because guys are moving up and some guys are just out of it. So for being out for 2 years, I was able to get in there. At that point, Seth Bazansky had just beat Neil Magny, so he was super hot. He was 6'3", which is huge for the welterweight division.
Right.
He was super tall. So it was a big challenge. Yeah, he was a guy that was very active and very hot at the time. But I prepared myself properly, and I was able to win the fight, unanimous decisions, and we got the bonus of fight of the night.
Nice.
So that was pretty special for me because I had, a lot of insecurities going in,
Right.
and that's just how it goes sometimes. You're afraid, you don't want to do it, but as long as you go out there and do it and give your best, you're gonna be satisfied, win or lose.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you know this because a lot of the fighters I've interviewed are unaware of their status in the UFC record book, but I looked you up and it turns out that you are in the record book for takedowns landed. You're ranked number 10 for a total of 13, and you're tied with Anthony Johnson, Dustin Poirier, and Conor McGregor. Did you know that?
Records out there, most knockdowns and some knockouts. I knew it was up there. But it's always good to get reminded about new records.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you exited the UFC in 2019, right? So years later, you're still in there. That's impressive.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be there for a couple more years.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Thiago. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and we'll definitely welcome you back on. Appreciate you showing up on MMA Today.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. And don't forget, guys, if you want to train with me, go to livetrain.com. Sign up for our monthly membership, and I'll see you guys soon.
You've heard it, guys. Thiago Alves, livetrained.com. Check him out.
Hey, Micky Ward in the house.
There's the man. What's up, Micky? Can you hear us?
Hey, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Good to see you again.
You too, bud. How's everything?
Everything's great. Everything's great. How's everything with you?
Everything's good.
Nice.
Hanging in there.
You in Boston?
Yeah, outside of Boston. Yeah, I'm alone.
Nice. I remember, so I had Micky on my show last year on the Cray, but Micky came in person. We got to hang out with him in person. Everyone in our green room was losing their mind that Micky Ward was here. So I was like, we gotta get you back on, and this time be able to kind of delve into some of the stuff you're doing. It's been a big year in boxing in the last year since I last saw you. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on all that. But yeah, man, just kind of want to delve into all of it.
Yeah, well, we just spoke to Thiago, and he primed us a little bit on Live Trained. I see that you're pretty active. You've got Live Trained, you've got Punch for Parkinson's charity. I mean, there's so much going on. Why don't we start with what you're most passionate about? What's driving you today? What are you working on?
Well, I mean, we're working with Live Trained, obviously with the Live Trained, the mobile app and stuff like that, and then also, like you said, the Punch for Parkinson's. I've been helping with that with my nephew at my nephew's gym, actually. Ryan Roach, Freddie's nephew, runs it and got it going and stuff like that. And they've been sparring in his gym, getting ready, at my nephew's gym, getting ready for the fights they have. I think it's next week. I think.
Nice.
It's a big event they're having. So I've been involved in that, and obviously, like I said, with the Live Trained, and the Live Trained is like a mobile app, and it's going good actually. Everything's good.
What do you do for Live Trained? What capacity are you working in?
Well, I'm one of the trainers on the app. On the app is like wrestling, boxing, MMA right now. and then it's right now we're in the process of expanding into other things too. Just doing training, and you can either train with me by the app, or I can do like a motivational thing. I can do whatever they need, like as far as like they pay for the hour, whatever it is, and they can use it for whatever they want, training, motivational stuff, things like that.
So, all right. So if I pay for the hour and I want you to like sing happy birthday to my friend, is that something you would do?
Yeah, but it won't be good. Yeah, it'll be terrible, actually. I couldn't hold a tune in a suitcase.
So tell us, Micky. So in the last year, we've seen this new sort of wave. This boxing sort of evolving now. I mean, aside from the heavyweights and everything, and the Canelos and all that, you see Jake Paul's coming out and really ushering in this new demographic into boxing. This new younger sort of Gen Z, demographic. What are I know we've had a lot of, we've asked a lot of the OGs. Mike Tyson's been very supportive of it, saying that he thinks it's great, that it's more eyes. What are your thoughts on this new wave of the influencers and these sort of celebrity boxers that are, by the looks of it, Jake is taking this very seriously. He trains hard. He's winning fights. What are your thoughts on him and everything?
Honestly, to be honest with you, at the very, very beginning, I was skeptical of it, and I was like, this ain't whatever, you know what I mean? And I mean, Jake Paul, he's brought so many eyes to boxing now, like not that boxing really needed, but it was kind of like down in the low. The kid trains his ass off. He really, he can fight. I mean, he has a good right hand. He can fight. I think it's great for boxing. And I think it ain't like one of those guys just don't respect boxing, goes in there just for whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, the kid's got plenty of money. He respects boxing, and I think he's good for boxing, and all the power to him. You know what I mean? People, fighters get mad because they've been training their whole life to do, to get to make money or whatever it may be, and they don't get it, and they look at him, and he's a self-made guy, though. You know what I mean? So he ain't making money off boxing. You know what I mean? He is making money off boxing, but he has money already.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's the jealousy thing or not, but the kid can fight. I mean, he can fight a little, and God bless him.
Yeah, right. I love it. I love it.
Okay, so you're such an OG in the sport. I gotta know, like, as you're observing up and coming fighters enter the scene, what's the biggest mistake you see them making today?
I don't know. There's a lot of I don't know about big mistakes, but it's just there's so much money involved in it now today that the best don't really have to fight the best. But we gotta. I think there's a fight. I don't know if it's made yet or not. But not Canelo. With Spence and Crawford, those are the two best welterweights, right now, and that'd be a great fight. And I don't really see too much wrong. I mean, there's always things wrong in boxing, you know what I mean, with too much this or that, but that's just the way it is, I guess.
And what are your thoughts? You mentioned it right now, the Canelo fight. He's fighting Triple G coming up again. It's the trilogy fight. What do you think the outcome of that's going to be?
It's going to be tough. I mean, you never know like what Triple G you get. You know what I mean? You can get an older Triple G, or you can get a revamped young Triple G. You never see at that age that he's at. You never know fight to fight what you're gonna get. Meaning, like, he ain't young no more. So his age is like you never know, and then he might have one last hurrah at a great fight. You know what I mean? So you really never know what you're gonna get. Like when I fought Toro Gatti the third time, I felt great all the way up to the 6th round, and after this, I knocked him down the 6th round. I come out the 7th. I got old. I was just like I was done. My legs were gone. Everything was gone, and the fight just come out of me in like that one round. Who knows like what Triple G is gonna show up? He might show up at great. He might be just a little bit too old. Who knows?
Right.
You never know.
Right.
But it should be a pretty interesting fight. I'll tell you that.
So I was watching the UFC fights on Saturday night, and at this point, I knew that we were going to sit down with you today. And I noticed one of the guys that was fighting they're saying that he's from Lowell. He's training with your team, Jay Perrin.
Yeah, it's my buddy Ronnie's kid. Yeah. He doesn't train in the gym with us, but he's training somewhere in the area.
Got it. Yeah, because Joe Rogan gave you a little shout out when
Yeah.
when Jay was walking out, and he was like, "Shout out Micky Ward," and you know they spoke very highly of him. He was a scrapper, man. He was in it.
Yeah, I actually missed it. You know, I had forgot to watch it. I was out doing. I was in Oklahoma at the National Road and Gloves, so that's why I didn't get to see it.
Got it. So when are you coming back to LA? When are we going to see you three-dimensionally in person?
I don't know. Whenever, we'll see. I don't know. Whenever work takes me there.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. So tell us, what's next for Live Trained? What's, you know, I know Thiago mentioned you guys are expanding it. You said you guys are expanding it, doing some bigger things. What could we look out for in the future for Live Trained?
I mean, just the stuff like I said, expanding and just trying to make the product better than it is. And you know, I mean, the guy Dave Mastrogiovanni, the owner, great man. He's always working, trying to make things better and just trying to improve on Live Trained and just trying to make it a better product.
I love it. And how long has Live Trained been available? Like, how long has it been out for now?
But now probably about a year or so.
Got it. Okay, so right around the time we met last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
See, but you guys got to talk about the fighter on your show, and we haven't even touched on it on our show. So I like a little bit of background. I mean, I want to know what you're most proud of about the fighter, Micky.
That it was pretty much it was just made and Mark, you know, did it, and you know how how Chris, how they won like 2 Academy Awards, 2 or 3, whatever Academy Awards. They were up for like 6, I believe, or something like that, but they won 2. You know, I'm proud of that. That you know the movie got made. You know, Mark Wahlberg, you know, good friend. He was in, you know, he was instrumental in getting it going because it was up and down throughout the years of on off, and he really made it happen.
It was a passion project, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, and then most proud moment of your career, Micky. You've done a lot.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe winning a championship because no one thought I could do it. I know it was a WBU, was like one of the lighter titles, but hey, it was a title, and I went over to England to win it in HBO, and so I was proud of that.
I love it.
I mean, the first Gaddy fight winning that was big because it brought $1 million payday the next one, so that probably is. But for me personally, it's probably winning the championship.
So we touched on Jake Paul earlier, and I got to know, if you were to advise him in any way, what direction would you steer him in? What advice would you have for him?
Just keep doing what he's doing. Listen to his coach. What's his name? I know him too. His coach. You know, listen to his coach. Coach is an ex-fighter, great fight, good fighter. You know, just take it one day at a time. You know what I mean? Don't look too far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Take it one fight at a time.
Okay. Well, Micky, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to meet you in LA if you make it out here, or if we happen to be in Vegas or another city at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Definitely. I appreciate you, my man. So good to see you again. Give David my best, and we'll connect again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Micky. Talk soon. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to MMA Today. That was an incredible show. We had David Feldman, we had Thiago Alves, we had Micky Ward. We had an incredibly exciting fight weekend that we recapped. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week.
All right.